I went to Target yesterday and bought 2 bottles of hair product, a bottle of shampoo, a box of trash bags, and 1 Halloween decoration, $70 on my Target Red card. That's with my 5% discount. My son's looking at the cart and going, Mom, this was $70. We didn't even get anything. Yeah, I know, kid. And he doesn't even remember a time when you could get a 2-bedroom apartment in a decent area of town for $600 a month. Now a 1-bedroom apartment in a mediocre part of town is $2,000 a month. Gas is $5.49 a gallon. It cost me $65 to fill up my tank. Before COVID, my grocery bill per month was $350. Now it's $600 a month, and I buy the exact same amount of groceries. This shit is out of control. What does the bourgeoisie think that the outcome of this is going to be? They cannot possibly believe that extracting every last dime out of the working class by inflating all of the prices and paying us poverty wages is a sustainable economic model. And the thing is that I could be mad at the bourgeoisie all day long, but they are doing exactly what is expected. They are greedy sociopaths. This is what they do. I am more mad at Americans because instead of uniting against this common enemy who is robbing us blind, we are fighting over whether or not drag queens can read books to children. At what point are we going to stop taking this shit lying down, put our foots down, and say, fuck this, and not allow it anymore? We cannot even afford to live in this country. We can't even afford to die in this country. The Republican Party is bought and paid for by the same greedy sociopaths who are robbing you, me, and our families blind every day. They are manipulating you into believing that they are going to save you from the problems that they created in your life. They have not walked a single inch in your working class shoes. They have no idea the struggle that you and I go through every day in this economy just to feed our families and keep them safe. They are gaslighting you into believing that I am your enemy so that you're distracted while they continue to do their dirt behind your back because they know that if you knew what they were doing, you wouldn't vote for them anymore. Why are you listening to them? The Democratic Party, with the exception of a very small few, is filled with weak and spineless politicians who placate to everyone just so that they can get reelected because they want to maintain some semblance of power in Congress. Why are you placing all of your faith and hope in this party to save us? Your religious leaders are funded by the same corporate sponsors who have bought your politicians, and they are weaponizing your faith against you so that you are distracted by a made-up enemy, your gay neighbor or your liberal coworker, so that you are not paying attention to the extreme financial crimes that they are committing against all of us right under your nose. In the richest country in the world, 500,000 people are homeless when there are more than enough homes to house them, and millions of children are hungry or food insecure, having their one free meal taken away from them at school. 10-year-olds are being forced to bear the child of their rapists. People are rationing their insulin and dying because they cannot afford health care. The water's polluted, the air is polluted, the soil is devoid of nutrients because we have oversaturated it in pesticides. We're not going to be able to grow our own food in the coming decades. The planet is literally dying. And they are putting hotels up in space and telling you that they can't afford to pay you a living wage, and you are believing them. This period is going to go down in the history books as one of the most epic failures that America ever allowed to happen. Future generations are going to study this time in history and ask themselves, why did they not do anything? How could they not see? And if you're sitting behind your phone right now and thinking to yourself, it's not me, it's those goddamn weirdo trans kids, then you are the people that they will be talking about. Wake the fuck up.
So in a sense, she's actually correct. Let me say this first. I've talked about this on this channel before, but there was I guess you can call it a manuscript that the Intelligence Council put out back in March of 2021 called Global Trends 2040. And in this report, they pretty much talk about what they see happening between March 2021 and the year 2040. They put these reports out about every 10 years. Now, obviously, there's really no way for them to be 100% accurate. But there's the Intelligence Council, right? Like, they're spying on you, they're spying on me, other countries. They have some data that we don't have access to. They have intelligence that we don't have access to. And what I will say is a lot of the stuff in this report that's happening now, they nailed it. They've nailed it. Like, I would say their accuracy is between 90 and 95% if you actually read the report. Now here's the thing about the report that's weird. This report was talked about in the newspaper. They talked about it on the news, but this was March 2021. So while the whole COVID thing was going on, people were at home. People didn't pay attention to it. Your own government is like, hey, pay attention, right? So everything that's going on right now, they talk about it in this report. For example, the widening gap between the people who have money and the people who don't. They talk about it in this report. How they also talk about artificial intelligence. You remember, pre-pandemic, I mean, obviously in tech circles, they were talking about artificial intelligence, but now it seems like every other day there's a new company or a new artificial intelligence, product or process that makes old products and processes obsolete. They talk about this in this thing, just to kind of get ahead in the future. They're talking about humans and computers becoming, one, I guess, species, right? They call it the human computer interface, right? That's one thing they're talking about. They're also talking about things like certain natural resources that are going to be, not available or not as available in the near future. So, I know you're wondering, okay, well, how can you use this information, right? So, for example, everybody loves the stock market. If we know certain natural resources are going to be depleted, let's just say, for example, water, you can invest in water stocks because we know in the future, water, which is a necessity, but it's not going to be available to most people. Therefore, doing what? Driving the price of it up, right? The companies that own it, they're going to become more valuable. There are a lot of things here that they talk about that's happening right now, like all of these conflicts that are going on in these different regions, like in Ukraine and with Israel and all these different conflicts, like the Congo. They talked about this stuff back in 2021, and people did not pay any attention. While everybody was balling out with their stimmies, they're telling people, hey, this is what's going to happen. Heading forward to 2024, here's a list of things that are going to happen. They talked about these TikTok videos that people are putting out. They talked about this stuff in this report in 2021. Here it is, 2024, and they were spot on with the majority of this stuff. Now, they didn't put an exact timeline, but by saying, hey, this date in 2024, this is going to happen. This is going to happen on this date. They didn't do that. They're just saying, hey, based on the intelligence that we have access to around the globe, here is everything that is going to happen that we see happening by 2024. Okay. They talk about the low birth rates. Like they talk about all of this stuff, but most people don't pay attention and are paying attention to the wrong things. Like, everybody has access to this information. I'll put the link down in the description. This is something that came out publicly, but they knew, or they know, that most people aren't going to pay attention to it. People would rather get online and complain about being in a bad situation instead of picking up the information. This is a smart lady, but she's misinformed. If she had access to the missing information, she would be able to reposition herself based on what is going to happen in the future, right? Everybody has a cell phone. You're looking down at millions of dollars. You're going to have to change what you're doing. And they talk about most people aren't going to have, true security in this world unless you are ahead of what's coming. So I'll put this down, this report down in the description for you to check out. Feel free to let me know what you think. It's kind of freaky, it's with the stuff that they're saying, but a lot of the stuff has already started happening. Now, when she talks about the politicians and, both sides of the aisle, let me tell you something. I'm in the DC area. These folks, as soon as they get off work, these congressmen, these congresswomen, they go out here and, they're at the bar taking shots, right? So people think that, your government is here to save you. You have to save yourself. You have to build your own personal economy, okay? It doesn't matter who the president is, Joe Biden, Donald Trump, who everybody's fighting over. It's really all the same people. They're doing all the same thing. They're just milking the economy of money. For people that don't understand, especially the way the government economy is, or the United States economy is set up, it's about milking the taxpayer money out of the federal government. So I'll give you several examples. Number one, if you look at the military industrial complex, when you hear yeah, we're sending money or aid to Ukraine. Essentially, they're cutting checks to, Northrop and Grumman, Harris Corporation, these major companies that build, that manufacture different levels of weapons. That's what they mean. They're cutting these guys checks. They're taking taxpayer money out of the government and into these private companies. It's the same thing on the healthcare side, right? When you have food, and so let's just say like the American diet, right? Like the cereals and stuff like that, that's owned by the Rockefellers. But also the healthcare system is also owned by the Rockefellers. When you look at like Kellogg's foods, General Mills, like these foods are subsidized by the federal government. So when your kids go to public schools, that's what they get. And a lot of Americans buy that stuff for their home. So this is the food that makes you sick. So once you get sick, now that same family has the healthcare system, which is also subsidized by the federal government, to give you this medicine that just kind of doesn't make you really better, but it just keeps you alive, right? So there it is again, right? More money coming out of the federal government and into these private entities, and that's how this thing pretty much works. So, these are just two examples. The biggest spending in the United States is the military industrial complex and the healthcare system. Okay, these are the two biggest things sucking money from taxpayers. But all in all, you have to build your own personal economy. It's not about somebody coming to help you, because that's not going to happen. Even no matter what Donald Trump says, no matter what Joe Biden says, these people are not going to help your personal economy. You have to take control of it. And I've mentioned this book for you to read so you can kind of position yourself for the future. But like I always tell people all the time, if you want to make money a lot, I guess, faster, content creation. Like I said, you're looking down at your cell phone. You have access to millions of dollars of information. You have access to the world. Thanks for watching.